Hiya, Josh here with another audio tutorial for Skyrim and the creation kit. And today I'm going to have a quick look at creating your own spell effects and sort of creating a dynamic spell effect that you can charge up and fire off. So this is like basically related, it's pretty easy enough. It's related to three different categories. You've got the spell category here. You've got a bunch of different types of spell, ranging from voice powers, spells, powers, all that kind of stuff. You've got your magic effects, and then that leads on to sound descriptors, which are where your actual sounds for the magic are stored. So just for this tutorial, I'm going to look at a simple spell. Now I've already created one here. I've just called it AAA Lightning Bolt because I'm original like that. And all it is it's in this case it's simply just the normal lightning strike sort of spell within the game, where you just shoot sparks from your fingers, and except I've made it ridiculously powerful. So looking at this, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. You can set this how you want, really. You know, this isn't so much about attenuating spells as getting the sounds to work. So in this case, I've just copied one. And there's effects here. There's 3 effects in total on this spell. But in reality, it seems that only the first one, which will have an index of 0 there, is the one that it's actually taking audio data from. So the principal effect is the one that you want to be adding the audio for. Now, in this case, I've got this sort of one. I've called it Lightning Doom, and when you open it up here, you have an effect. So you've got that here. Now, in this case, I've just called that AAA Shock Damage FF. It's just, once again, it's taking the effect from the previous spell and creating my own little version of it. So now what this links to is when you put your effect in there, you can select it here. You can select things like additional things like the magnitude, the area, depending on the type of spell, and the duration. But in this case, we're just looking at the audio. So I've given it a bit more magnitude, and I've given it... if you look at this, you can tell the cost down here, so I've given it a really low cost, just so you can cast it whenever you want. It's just more of a test. So once we do that, we can see that this is going to link to that shock damage. So that appears in the magic effects category, which is also under magic. It's a little higher up the tree there. And you've got all these ones, which should be little rabbits in hats as your icon. So this one at the top is what it is pointing at the minute, which is AAA shock damage. And if we open that up, let's give it a second, we have a lot more effects here. Now this is actually what the magic effect itself is doing. You know, how it affects the player, a whole bunch of other stuff. In this case, this isn't so much as important as this right hand category here. So when we're looking at audio for these effects, we have a sounds category on the right for every single spell effect, and we can set several different sounds that are activated at different stages during a spell. So in this case, we have draw sheaf, charge, ready, release, cast loop, and on hit. We also have a casting sound level. So draw and sheaf, very simple. When you pull it out of your pocket, so to speak, you know, that's the sound it's going to make, or when you put it away. There's a simple sound for that. The charge sound is, of course, while you're charging the spell up. Ready is a sound that generally loops when you're holding it and it's fully charged. So as soon as this charge spell is finished and it gets to the fully charged status, it moves on to the ready status. So the ready status will generally be a loop file. After that, you've got release. Now that's obviously the firing sound. As soon as you release the button, the spell will fire. So that's going to be a sort of shot sound. You have a cast loop. Now I'm assuming this one is, I haven't tested it yet, but it's for when you have a constant effect spell where you have to hold it down and you know that you're constantly casting it rather than a spell that you simply just let go. So that will keep looping. And then on hit, which is an impact sound for when it hits something. Now after that, you've got a casting level. So you've got not loud, normal, silent, and very loud there. So you've got 4 levels of loudness. It's kind of like a macro control. It lets you, if your spell's a bit on the quiet side or you've recorded it too loud in general, then the entire spell can be changed quickly to a slightly different volume level there. In this case, I'm just setting it to loud, like most spells seem to be. So in this case, we have a bunch of different ones. Now each one of these, on these drop-down lists, is looking at the sound descriptor over here. So generally anything to do with magic will be under MAG. So it will start with that. That's the naming convention Bethesda reviews. So if you want to use that, it may be a good idea. For this sake, just so I could find it quickly, I've got them all with AAA at the top, just because they'll appear at the top. In this case, what I've done is I've kept the drawn sheath sound the same for the minute, but I've changed the charge, the ready, and the release sounds to something a bit more sort of electric sounding, a bit more beefy than the originals. I like to think so anyway. And in this case, you've got the charge, ready, and fire. So if you look at the charge, I'm going to open that up. Now in this case, we've set a WAV file. Now I've created these. I'll show you how I've done them in a second. We can just see there. Can play that. Now these are just simply stored in your Skyrim directory, data, sound, FX, and for magic effects, MAG. And then I've made an extra category called Doom there, where I've put my 3 different sounds that I'm going to use. Now, all you seem to do with that in the sound descriptor category is when you create it, all you need to do is go into the sound bit there, select new, and select your sound. Dead simple. And once it's in there, it should loop. Now there's a few other bits. There's categories, audio category magic. There's the output model, which you can change. That's mainly to do with your stereo positioning. I'm going to do a different tutorial specifically about how the sound output models work. But for now, we can just leave it at the sound output mono 900. That's fine. You can set rumble, so the amount of rumble any controllers with force feedback will be sent to. So that can be used for if you're using an Xbox 360 controller to play Skyrim on your PC or something. That will actually affect the force feedback when you do this action, or rather when this sound is playing. And there's a bunch of other little bits and bobs. There's the looping here. Now in this case, the charge sound doesn't loop, but if say we look at the ready sound, that does loop. So we can set that playing. I need to stop that. If you've got a looping sound and you kill this window, then it just keeps looping in the background until you come back to it or kill a creation kit. So remember, if you do have a looping sound you want to audition, kill it before you leave the page. Okay, so we've got that, and we've got these 3 sounds here. So what I've done is I've created these in Cubase. Now it's going to be a bit hard to sort of hear them in Cubase because it won't send system audio through to this screen capture software, but you can see the session here. So I've created a bunch of stuff. Now I've just used some stuff off freesound.org at the minute. It's quite a simple way of just getting a bunch of sounds. I looked for like electric zap sounds and I created these sort of things. So there's a lot of layered ones. This one kind of has an electric hum, and it's designed here so it's, it loops perfectly. So if you go to this, you can kind of hear the 3 different sounds I've created. You've got the charge, you've got the ready, and finally you've got the fire sound here. So those 3 sounds there, I mean, one is a layered one with some kind of like Tesla coil sort of electrical sound there. I'm going to put a link to all of the sounds I've used in the description below. You've got another loop which is simply the same sort of hum but a bit louder. So this is when the thing's fully charged. You're holding it in your hand there. It will let off like kind of a low hum until finally you release it. And what I've used here is sort of a combination of 3 sounds. I've used a thunderclap, then a sort of explosion sound with a lot of bass on it, and I've sort of attenuated it to give it a bit more oomph on the low end. And then I've used another sort of thing there. So that's kind of like more of the crackling electric sound again, and it all kind of decays. I've used a fade out there to create that sort of effect there. So once you've created some sounds that you kind of like the sound of, it's, obviously anything that loops needs to loop perfectly, so you've got to bear that in mind. You put these in the creation kit. You simply, once you've created those sound descriptors, you can select them from this drop down list. It says it may not come up on the drop down list if you've created them while you've got this window here open, so you may want to close your magic effect window like OK it, and then reopen it before that your new sound descriptors appear in the lists that you can select there. But once you've got that, the charge ready and fire, we're ready to test it in game.